All right, before we get reviewing the animes I have planned, which is Solo Leveling, Sakamoto Days, and Doctor Stone, I will say I'll probably have to make separate videos for them due to the fact that I can only make 15-minute videos right now because of YouTube's settings. So in the future, when I review things, hopefully I can add the reviews together, make them a little longer. Anyway, we'll hop into it. Before I get to those, I want to say that I've been watching Bleach lately. This is my third attempt to watch it. Um, this time, I've been enjoying it much more than I did the previous two times. Um, I think the other times I was just a little too new to anime to be able to sit through the slower start. Like, is a little slow burn for Bleach. And so far, my favorite ending was number six, My Pace by Sunset Swish. And then my favorite opening was Detect No Life by Underworld. Um, my favorite character by far so far is the little pink-haired lieutenant. Um, my favorite interaction with her, keep in mind, she always gives nicknames to people when she meets them. And one person she called Maki, and then later on he like left and went to the human world, and she eventually called someone who looked like him in her head Maki Maki. So my favorite interaction is she's like, "Is that what you think, Maki Maki? That Maki is somewhere in the human world?" And Maki Maki was like, it certainly looks that way, ma'am." She's like, "We all thought Maki was dead, Maki Maki, but you think Maki is alive, Maki Maki?" And he was like, "Well, um, sorry, when you call me Maki Maki and him Maki, I just get a little confused." And she's like, "Huh? How's that? You're Maki Maki, and Maki is Maki. How is that confusing? How could you possibly confuse Maki Maki with Maki?" And he's like, "That's exactly what I'm talking about. This is all too confusing." And someone else who wasn't even a part of the conversation went, "I think the name Maki Maki is a little weird to begin with, don't you?" And Maki Maki, who originally hated being called Maki Maki, went, "Who the hell asked you anyway?" Because originally he didn't like being called Maki Maki, so he would correct her and say his real name, and then she'd start calling him like Crazy Stash or something like that. So he was like, "Oh man, I miss Maki Maki." So when she started calling him Maki Maki again, he's like, "Yes, I got my old nickname back." And it's wholesome to see him defend the name that he originally didn't like being called. Um, so yeah, up next we're gonna talk about solo leveling. We will be doing a no spoiler review before we get to the real review. All right. So the non-spoiler reaction for solo leveling is now. My thoughts were is a pretty amazing episode. It had all the action that people were complaining that the episode before was missing, but we all kind of knew that it was all building up to this episode. I've enjoyed every episode of this anime to this point. So I did not, I was not one of the people complaining that there wasn't enough action last episode. Um, there's some really wholesome moments and hints of what's to come. So that'll be fun. So in 10 seconds, we will be going into an in-depth review. Um, this one just summed up. It was an amazing episode. We got a lot. It was great. Um, there's more to come. So I'm gonna give you guys 10 seconds, and to those who don't want spoilers, go ahead and use the chapters in the bottom to skip to the next non-spoiler section. A 8, a 7, a 6, a 5, a 4, a 3, a 2. Oh, that's it. A 2, a 1, and let's go. All right, let's hop into this. My first note is because it was the start of the episode. This was the start of it. Cha is so amazing. She was ready to go into the dungeon empty-handed. It takes a special confidence. She also is so respectful. Most S-class hunters do what they want, and they don't care about anyone. Yet she took the time to have a genuine convo with the head of the mining team and explain what she was doing. My next note was the orcs slamming their spears on the ground was very ominous. I'm sure most of the hunters were scared, or at least on edge, but Jinu was just looking down at his shadow, begging them to give him a reason to call forth his shadow. Um, but as he was looking down into it, that transfer from zooming into the shadow, going straight into the intro, was genius because the intro's a darkness. So having it go from the dark of the shadow to the dark of the intro was amazing. Another note I put is I'm not sure how they're going to top this in season three because this season they have Lisa as the intro and they have TK singing the outro. Those are two of the best intro slash outro singers for anime. So, I mean, season three, we're gonna have to reach out to Creepy Nuts if you want to top this season. Um, a lot of animes fall apart when they keep getting better and better intros, and then eventually they drop the ball. I'm concerned. This is the only thing I'm concerned about with solo leveling. The story is amazing. All right. My next note is the boss casted an intimidation spell, I think, because when he asked the humans if they fear him, they immediately started trembling. And before they were just concerned about how the orcs would burn down the city. Maybe they needed time for the fear to set in. It's been a long time since I personally felt fear, so I'm not fully sure the inner mechanics of it, but I would think that fear would have shown much sooner than when it did. Um, the next thing, the next thing I wrote was either way, we're about to hear Carrie Underwood because Jinu's about to sing that he's not here for your entertainment. He's gonna destroy all the orcs tonight because the boss said that they were they were there for the orcs entertainment. Um, my next note was once again, this doesn't feel like an A rank gate. I suspect if they weren't waiting for Cha to enter, it would have turned red like the last one. It definitely feels like it should be S when 10 orcs almost slaughtered the whole team last episode until Jinu stepped in. So now that there's hundreds of them, he's going to be getting some good EXP. My next note was that gravitation magic was so strong. The captain was the only one giving any sliver of hope, and he just got ragdolled. Um, I'm sure glad that Jinu volunteered to carry their bags, because now it's time for him to carry the people instead. Uh, my next note was I love how quick the mining team turned on him when he did nothing but make their jobs 10 times easier. The surveillance guys did a good job at maintaining confidentiality. Watch the news tomorrow instead of telling them what was going on. But that's probably because they were going to announce him as an S rank to on the news next tomorrow. But the miners thought that they were saying he killed people or something and I think the point was misinterpreted and causing more panic than there needed to be. But to be honest, that's realistic of humans. They sadly jump to the worst case scenarios. And the next note was, wow, we can feel the boss's aura outside the gate. Y'all see what I meant about this can't be an A rank dungeon? Um, my next note was, Iron and Egress and Janu are just making short work of they now that they don't have to hold back for the team anymore. They're just making short work of all of these orcs. Um, he was the strongest porter they ever seen. Let's just say though the orcs weren't to be laughed at because it was taking four. They were killing 4 to 5 of his soldiers per orc, not counting his generals. My next note was the boss's magic is pretty strong. He's doing a good job at keeping Jinu at bay, but for how long will that remain the case? And now we get the confirmation that the gate is being on the verge of an S class. But right before that, Jinnu killed 100 plus orcs. So it was probably an S class before Jinnu got started. My next note was, it's time to steal those orcs. The four generals are on the move. And then my question was that a general that Iron just decapitated? If so, those should easily be arisen. Right as they said that we should go to help, I was like, oh no, Jin is gonna get blamed for deaths again. And the boss just casually sidelines them with, audiences don't belong on the stage. And he just like completely sidelines him. It was great. Um, I wrote it was funny that all of this was done to sell a dang orb, which he ends up using anyway to shatter the boss's shield. Like all of this, if you think back to the original, it was all done just so he could sell an orb, so he would have an excuse on how he got it. Because if he had sold it before, people would have been weary on how he got it. Um, my next note was right as I was about to say that Giants and Jinnu have a bad history, he beat me to it, admitting it to the boss. But that interlacing, oh wait, skipped far ahead. No, that was right. Yeah, that interlacing dragon spell was really cool, but he's killing more orcs than he's affecting Jinnu. Um, my next note was, now we get to see his experience in action. It took him forever to stab the serpent and Cerberus in the eye. Now this time it didn't take much time for him to just go straight into it. My next note was playing the floor is lava, except Jinu can walk on fire. um, my next note was even Cha understood that this wasn't her fight. She stayed on the side with everybody else. The surveillance walked in just awestruck as they were seeing the true awakening of a true S-class hunter and what it looks like. He aroused at least one of the guards. My next note was, can I get a heckity yeah for the fact that we got the boss now? A new general in Jinu's army. You shall now be named Tusk. Originally, because of the false subtitles, it was read Fang, but it was corrected the second time I watched it. So I had gotten confused and had to look into the book to figure out the true name. But it is Tusk. Um, and I asked if Tusk has as much power as Igris, since Jinu said he never saw a power level as high as his before. My next one was I'm in tears. My next note was I'm in tears from laughter. Jinu's our best kept secret. Please keep today's incident confidential. Let's escort you out, Mr. President. Just kidding. I know it's because the miners would still be a mess and probably try to mob him. My next note was, it feels good to have a team express their gratitude for the first time. Jinu was able to prevent all deaths. Although, if the captain wasn't an A rank, he definitely would have been dead after the boss straight up incredible hawked him with magic. Um, and then he gave the will back to the girl, like, here you go. He's like, yep, there you go. We have to speed through. I don't have much time left. Um, My next note was Cha. Yeah, Cha, tell us why you were holding a pickaxe. We'd love to hear that. And I also wrote she was super crushing on Jinu since her first response was, "Do you think I was weird?" Um, and then I wrote, if an S class walked into a dungeon with only a pickaxe in hand when they're a sword user, yeah, that's a little weird, but I don't think he had time to notice. You're in the clear. Out of Jinu, the next note was out of Jinu and I, who do you think is stronger? Yeah, sorry, buddy. It's not even close. But his aide said it much nicer than I did, so he had to answer the question himself. Um, my next thing was Lee looked a little bit like Jinu. It could be a coincidence, but I wonder if they're related. All right, bye. Next episode will be Dr. Stone.